Okay, so let's talk about
Sex,
the
baby.
playoffs.
Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about me. Oh, okay. Whatever, man.
Hope started there.
Yeah, so we missed last week, and the bet that was on the table was that it was going to be either you guys were in favor of Golden State taking a
Yes.
2-0 lead, and I was in favor of taking a 1-1. We didn't bet any financials on it. It did end up being a 1-1, but now we are here a week later, and now it's 2-2. So we're going into this week. We're recording on Monday, of course. So the game 5 is tonight. It's a 2-2 split, the best of 3 series. And this is what we want. I mean, when it comes to playoffs in general, but definitely the NBA Finals, this is what you want. You want to see the games go to 6 or 7. You don't want to see a 5-game series. So we'll be talking about that this episode. I think we might be talking about a little bit of trade talk. There was a minor trade today, and I know Chris was perusing around on some potential future trades. And then, of course, if we have time, we'll talk about one of the weirdest analysts there are out there and his controversial takes that he likes to toss out once in a while. Nick Wright of Fox Sports. But with that, boys, how you doing this week? Chris, how you doing?
We're not too bad. Getting over some fucking food poisoning, so that's about it. It was a wild ride over the weekend. Just, man, bro, I've been sick, like flu sick, and I didn't feel like that bad, like at time. Like I was literally telling C, like I pulled a U, and like I'm in the fucking shower. At one point I literally fell asleep in the shower for probably 45 minutes. Water on,
It's relaxing,
water,
right?
water
It's
on,
relaxing.
like running, like dog, like laying on the ground, like on the floor of the shower. And then I woke up bath mat soaked because at some point I guess I must have laid on the fucking drain so it flowed out into the. But that's what the center drain's for.
Yeah.
But yeah, if somebody would have walked in, I probably would have thought I was dead.
Oh, that's terrible. That's terrifying.
I know, like it's. But I woke up, I was like, "Whoa!" Huh? But yeah, other than that,
Did you
we
have
do
pizza from Utah by any chance?
pizza from Utah. No, it's just
Oh, oh.
fucking
Some
the
nasty
last time
anchovies.
having Osmos. You know what? Raptors need to drop them as a sponsor. Pick up the Z's. Somebody else. I don't know.
Just throwing shade early on in the podcast.
I'm throwing super shade early
Always.
on.
What about you, C? How have you been these past 2 weeks? Have you been taking any lying down showers, or are you just a stand-up guy?
No, just standing up as usual.
Okay.
Living a
Nice.
normal life here. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
different over there, but no, I've been chilling, man. Just watching the games, putting down some bets, which I keep losing, so it's always
Yeah.
nice. Shout out to Jason Tatum not touching the ball the last 2 minutes of the game when I needed him to score 2 more points, but that's all right. We're gonna get to it.
Always one leg too, right? Just enough to keep you addicted, but not enough to make you win to retire. So that's how it goes. But yeah, like you mentioned, like been watching basketball. It's been unreal. I've been like enjoying the competitive back and forth between, Boston's best and Golden State's best, which is basically just Steph Curry, and obviously watching the drama that is Draymond Green. I mean, like, I want to know, Chris, what are your thoughts on just Draymond Green's performance in general and how he's been kind of acting off the floor?
Bro. Normally Draymond can like talk the talk, walk the walk, but for whatever it's fucking been this series, man, this guy, he's been coming in with that I know you like a dog, the dog mentality. He's got the dog mentality, but he's
Yeah.
got the chihuahua mentality, bro. This guy is just bark, 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 bark. But then when you need the guy to step up, nothing. Bro, like, lost a bet the other day because the guy couldn't score over 4 points. You're a professional basketball player, a starter for a team, and you're telling me you can't score more than 4 points?
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck
Yeah,
is
what was
that?
it? Game 3, he had more personal fouls than he had actual points. He had 2 points, and obviously he fouled out.
Yeah. It's like, bro, what are you doing? But man, just to say I'm just at a loss for words for this guy's performance. Like And again, going back to the betting thing, it's like I feel like I want to now bet on Draymond because you're like, hey, maybe the guy's finally listening to all the shit that's been talked about and all the criticism, and maybe he's gonna have a good game. But then again, he could Draymond, and he's gonna finish with like 4 or 5 and 2.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, in a betting perspective, I don't trust him to score points. I mean, I think
No.
we were talking before, and Steve actually said his line for this game 5 was set at 7.5. I think that's way too high. I mean, last game I took his assists and rebounds because if I'm looking at Draymond, that's what I expect him to do. I don't even expect him to put up 5 points. Should he be able to put up 5 points? Yes, he should definitely be able to put up 5 points. But just in terms of the offense, not so much defense because he always seems engaged in the defense. But in my opinion, from what I've seen, especially in fourth quarters, he looks very disengaged on the offense. He doesn't look to be trying to get himself involved, and maybe that's because he hasn't been shooting well. But Steve Ash, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on Draymond and his lack of performance in the NBA Finals so far?
I think with Draymond, what we're seeing is a player who can bring a lot onto the court, but of course he can be ran off the court if by any chance he isn't able to score. That's the thing with the Celtics right now. They're just sagging off of him. Last game, I saw way too many positions where he was in the corner and they were just leaving him and they were sitting in the paint. So having Marcus Smart guard him allows the Celtics to be able to play off of him and get defensive plays and bother guys who are going to the basket. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the big reasons why Steve Kerr took him off the floor in the fourth quarter. And I believe they went on an 8-0 run in that time span, with Kevon Looney as the center and Steph, Jordan Poole, Wiggins, and Clay on the court along with him. So, in general, I like what he's doing off the court. I don't care for it. I think it's entertaining. A lot of people don't like him podcasting. I love, there's a meme going around on Twitter where it's the halftime and somebody posts a picture of him with the mic and it's like, the clip's already up with his halftime reaction. That one always makes me laugh, but... On the court, I just think maybe he needs to put his ego down a little bit, just look for the team to win. And if they're guarding him that way, either make an adjustment or just accept that you're going to have to play less minutes so they can get something better.
And Dre is a professional. Like you said, like he got benched in the third quarter, but he is a professional. He knows that that was the best decision, and he acknowledged that on his podcast that Steve Kerr benching him was the best decision for them to win, and they did win that game. And it's funny because I was thinking about this as I was watching Game 4, and I was reflecting on our pre-analysis of this series. I mentioned Marcus Smart being the most important player for this series, but you both had mentioned Draymond being the most important player. And remember, there's a difference between best player and most important player. The important player dictates whether you win or you lose a series or a game. We saw that a couple of years ago when Draymond got ejected. He got his 2 texts, and then I don't even think he was allowed to come back for the second game or whatever. That was major for the Golden State Warriors, and they ended up losing that series. This could also be the same thing. The talking heads are talking about how if you don't lock in, if you don't, focus on the game rather than focus on your podcast, then you might blow the series once again for the Golden State Warriors. Now, Siavash, I know you just said you don't mind him doing the podcast, but Chris, what are your thoughts? Do you think he should just hang up the mic until the end of the series and then get back to it, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, again, like I'm never gonna be the person to come after like an NBA player, especially when we've had issues with like Harden clubbing, people going out, people doing things that they enjoy. Like, yes, basketball is their job, but like these other things like that they like to do for entertainment, I don't think that like any of them should be like penalized for some stuff. But yeah, maybe during the it's the NBA finals, like maybe just kind of put it on pause or just like go on a little high. Even if he made a quick like post for the pod, just be like, hey, we're just gonna go on hiatus just till this series is kind of done because like we're playing more frequently, like I need to be dialed in, like yada yada yada. Absolutely, like go ahead and do that, but like yeah, I think maybe just tell the people, I'm gonna put it on pause real quick just so I can focus on this kind of thing. So I'm not saying it's a distraction, But if now people are coming at him and being like, well, this potentially is a distraction. This is why you're playing the way you're playing, because you're focused on this and not focused on basketball. Then it just kind of gives people like one less reason to like criticize his game, you know?
Don't give people a reason to point your performance or your team's performance on anything besides what you do on the court. And now, like you said, I think now's a perfect time for him to do that. This is a best of 3 series now. The first team to win 2 games wins the title. Like, it's not the best of 7 anymore. It's the best of 3. So I think for him to kind of make that notice and say, yeah, I'm just going to go on a hiatus until, like, this is the last week. Like, if it goes to game 7, it's Saturday. So just say, like, I will record the next episode on Sunday. Give me this 1 week off. Again, I don't think he should be penalized or criticized or anything for it. But I think at some point it's like, okay, let's lock in. This is a best of 3. Like, I don't agree with it, but like people are gonna start to talk about this as being a legacy-defining moment. Right?
Unless, again, like I don't know the ins and outs of his podcast. Unless he has some like contractual like things with like businesses and stuff where like you have to do so many or yada yada yada, then that's the thing. But if there's none of that, then yeah, exactly. Do exactly what you said. Exactly what you said.
I don't
say I'm going
I don't
on
think
a break.
I don't think there's a contractual obligation, but I do think like I think he's with I think he signs with ESPN, but Siavash, correct me if I'm wrong, Volume Sports I think he's under, which is Colin Cowherd's brand or whatever. But I did see you shaking your head over there, Siavash. Do you want to toss one more comment in before we move on?
Yeah, for sure. In my opinion, this guy's not doing like a movie right now. He's just grabbing the mic, sitting in front of a webcam or a camera, and he's talking for, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour, as he does every game or before or after with the press. I don't think he's sitting there editing it and then uploading it and then he's sharing it. He's just kind of like just sitting it and filming and going from there. So we always talk about these players doing these different things like Damian Lillard rapping or these other guys doing things off the court. But we got to look at, man, these guys get the same 24 hours we get. How much of their time do you want them to be in the gym? We all are in the gym. Like, we all go work out. How many hours can you work out a day? How many hours can you watch film? How many hours can you be more? Yeah.
It's Kobe.
No, I like that. But but at the same time, we got to be realistic, right? And we talk about the fans getting at him about this stuff. I think at the end of the day, fans are going to fan. As they did with Michael Jordan. If you guys remember of course, Chris hasn't watched it, but if you've seen the Last Dance documentary, there's a part about how he got so much criticism for going to Atlantic City after losing to the Knicks in, I believe, the 92 or 93 playoffs.
Vince Carter going to his graduation during the Raptors playoffs. Got a lot of flack for that, you know?
Yeah, like, how do you want these guys to live? Like, the Steph Curry doesn't post a podcast, doesn't rap, but I bet you he's spending a lot of his time golfing or hanging out with his family. You get certain things to do.
I'm going to look into this, but I swear to God, I heard it on the radio yesterday that he's producing this new Muppets show, like that Holy Moly show. Like, he's a executive producer on it. Steph, yeah. And I was like, ain't no way. But that's something, yeah. So,
I don't know if he's there after finals games watching
probably not,
production. Yeah.
But still, it's a weird thing.
Okay, so that is the kind of the Draymond, I don't want to call it a fiasco, but the situation that has been happening. It's kind of been the main topic of conversation with this series. But aside from stuff off the court, let's actually talk about what's happening on the court, the performances, the different players going off. And Chris, I'll let you start. Steph Curry dropping 40 in Game 4. What are your thoughts on that? And just talk about what you've seen so far in these past 4 games between both Golden State and Boston.
Honestly, going back, like watching that game, like I didn't get a chance to watch like the whole game, so I was just going through like the game recap and just doing this. But obviously, Curry's gonna do that. Curry does have the ability to go off when needed, but again, I feel like that highly depends on if he's hitting those threes or not. And this man was hitting his shots. This guy was creating like shot opportunities, looking at like the rest line. Got touches to Sorry, my eyes just fell on Draymond's stat line. But yeah, just like looking at
like 0, 0.
I was like,
the Tony Snell line.
Like, God, this guy. But no, like Steph's got the ability to take over, and Steph is one of those players that is gonna take over a game like when needed, or at least do his damnedest to do what he needs to do. With that being said, though, Boston did have like a ton of turnovers, and like, yeah, a lot of key turnovers too. Like, looking at the stats comparable, 16-15 for each team, but going back and looking at some of them, like, they're just easy points that they were giving up to, and they almost kind of like outplayed themselves a little bit here and there. But I'm excited to see how Curry's gonna go off in like tonight's game. They're back now in Golden State. Yeah. So it's 2 games Golden State, then back to Boston. So how did
one Golden State, one Boston, one Golden State,
and then one Golden State. Dang, it would have been nice for them to win it. Actually, no, it'll be nice when they win in Boston Game 6. So it doesn't even matter. So
Get them Boston fans out of there.
Yeah, get the.
Well, and that's it. You mentioned Game 6, and there's a certain player that hasn't been really that.
Game 6, Clay, he's coming.
Exactly. There is one player that does perform usually well in Game 6, but Steve Ash, I'll let you talk about Klay Thompson and what you've seen him do so far in these 4 games, and what you expect, I guess, in these next 2 or 3.
I think Klay has done what he can in this stretch. And I mean, in Game 4, his defensive effort was really impressive. Just to see him stop or at least slow down guys like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. In case of his offense, he's being guarded the same way that Max Strus was being guarded in the Miami series. He's just always going to have the body on him. They're not going to help off of him because they know if they do, he's going to rain down the threes and get the lead up. So, in case of Klay's effort, I think he's not great. I'm not going to look at the stat line too much. He did have a good game. I believe it was Game 2. But outside of that, I think I'm just going to, let Klay be Klay and more focus on what they can do with the other pieces. I almost said what we can do because I'm rooting for Golden State so much, but I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible in this case.
Now, one guy that we kind of recognized in the last series, but we didn't really focus on him, making that big of an impact, whether it was because we just thought it was a matchup thing or whatnot, is the Canadian boy, Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins collected 16 rebounds last game, which is super impressive. He's been, I would say, more impactful than a Klay Thompson, but I've been super impressed just watching him both on defense, and on offense as well, being able to contribute and knock down a 3. I think, a narrative about Andrew Wiggins in his career prior to coming to Golden State was that he just didn't care, that the effort wasn't there, that he enjoyed the life of being a basketball player more than being an actual basketball player. But I think, there's certain teams or certain systems that any player can join. I think of the San Antonio Spurs for a long time, and probably still, but that 20-year period in the 2000s, going to the San Antonio Spurs, going to the Miami Heat, going into that system, they have an identity, they know who they are, what they are, and you can bring in a troubled, I'm not saying he's troubled, but a troubled or not caring player and kind of groom them to be someone that fits your system and molds your system well. And I think the best thing for Andrew Wiggins' career was going to Golden State. I've just been super impressed.
Yeah, he's a troubled kid. It's like,
no, he's not.
Player.
Yeah, not like that. Okay, so we've talked about 3 Golden State players. I want to talk about the Boston side as well. So let's try to go beyond Game 4. But Steve Ash, I want to hear your thoughts on some of the Boston players. There's one guy that stuck out in my mind that I don't want to say he's been surprising because he's done well so far in the playoffs, but he's really shown up when Boston needs him. But I'll let you talk on Boston first, Steve Ash.
I think if you were to say the next 2 games, Boston Celtics win, and you don't look at the stats for the next 2 games and you just consider the first 4 games, the guy that's been the most surprising is Jaylen Brown. I think with him, of course, there was a lot of slander coming into the series with him not being able to dribble, him not being able to show up, but he's literally been the most valuable player for them. Without him, I do not think that they will be able to get those 2 wins out. Of course, Jason Tatum has not been the best. I would say he's had an underwhelming performance, but at the same time, with him being underwhelming, he's still done great. He's still an impactful player on the court. We just want to see him do a little bit more. As I mentioned, he had 23 points in the, I believe, last game, and he did not touch the ball the last 3 minutes of the game. So if you're a top 5 guy, if you're a guy who's going to make those impactful plays, they got to get you the ball, and you got to do something in that situation.
Yeah.
In case of every other guy, I think Robert Williams has been great. Marcus Smart has been doing his thing. Al Horford, you go down the line, everybody has been as impressive as they have been the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, Robert Williams does really well in this matchup, I find, because, of course, Golden State is going to shoot the 3, but Boston has the best defense in the league. And once they close out that 3, they force Golden State to go into the paint, and who's there in the paint? You know, the Time Lord tossing up 4 blocks a game. So he's been very impactful, especially with the injury that he's had. Chris, I will let you talk on Boston as well now here. You know, Sivash mentioned Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown really showing up. But who have you noticed? Who have you kind of what have you seen from the Boston side in this series?
Kind of just like to touch on that with Sivash said, like just going down like the Boston line. It's just, yeah, you've had that surprising play from like Jaylen Brown and whatnot, but you've also had like other players just doing their jobs, doing the things that they need to do. You know, you got Marcus Smart, you know, creating that pressure for those people, you know, and it also too dropping points. Like what do you have last game? 24 points, something like that. But like game three, yeah. So he's been productive. You've also had players like Derek White too, like showing up too and putting up points like when needed, big time points too. So I just think like the whole Boston squad, like you said, like there a second ago, best defensive team right now. All they have to keep doing is just closing out Golden State at that 3, force them in the paint. Then you've got the wall of Robin Williams there, and Golden State doesn't really have like a true big that can really like battle against them. Like sure, Robin Williams is undersized, but he does play like a genuine big, and he does bother like a lot of shots, does bother a lot of people like trying to box him out to get boards, get rebounds, and things like that. So again, with that, Larry, we just said, I'm gonna shout out again Wiggins for pulling down those 16 boards, because that's a fight, man. That's a fight.
100%.
So honestly, even though, you know, again, I've showed my disdain for Boston, like this whole
and both of the teams,
playoff
run.
I don't know, this whole playoff run. If I was literally just to stop watching basketball like today, and then just be like, yeah, like we'll see who wins. Like, I am getting a little more shaky, thinking that, you know, Golden State is going to win in 6, and Boston could easily win, because it's been such a back and forth with both teams. Both teams showing like exactly like what they're like the best at.
Yeah, for me, you mentioned it, Derek White. Derek White for me has been the most surprising again. We've seen these flashes in the earlier series, but he's been dropping like a couple 20-point games, and that's been very important, obviously on defense as well. And his ability to play make, I think we've talked about it before, but you know, it's difficult to make in-season trades and have them work out right away, because it's a player coming into a system and they have to adjust. I think Derek White, you know, was a fantastic trade for Boston, and at the right time, it's worked for them. Obviously, he came in February, March, but now we're into June. You know, playoffs was in May as well, and I think at the perfect time, he was clicking, working in the system very well. So you also mentioned, Chris, that you're kind of shaky on Golden State, you're shaky on Boston, you don't know which way it could go. I put out a tweet after game 3 I think it was game 3.
From your account or a burner?
No, from my account.
Oh, okay. Just double checking.
But I sat there thinking, and of course my prediction was Boston in 7. But I thought about it. Boston needs to win this game 5 tonight. They need to win tonight, Monday night, whenever you're hearing this on Wednesday. Obviously, the results will already be out, but this is why they need to win. You can't go back to Golden State on Game 7.
Oh, you can't.
You cannot do that. If they do that, they've lost. In my opinion, they've lost. Sure, you win games in Golden State. We've seen that already twice. In Game 7, against a team that's been there before, Steph Curry, Clay, we talk about Draymond. I bet you he's going to show up for Game 7 in Golden State if they get there. Steve Kerr knows what it takes, right? There's these other guys that have been in the system, these young guys that are hungry to win. I'm just saying, in big moments, that's when you really show your nuts and you show who's the big dog, right? And Jason Tatum is that guy. Jaylen Brown's been showing that he's a great Robin. But in Game 7 moments, in an away barn, with those rally towels going, everyone probably wearing a yellow shirt, that's going to be tough. So I really think Boston, if they have a chance to win the series, if they have a chance to win this title, they got to win Game 5.
I think that can go the same for Golden State winning tonight's game for Game 5. I think if you go back to Game 6, if you're going back to Boston and the TD Garden is just booming and is on fire with all the fans, everybody yelling, fuck Draymond and all that kind of stuff. I wonder how that's going to look for them. How easy is it for them to come out of that, right? I think that, again, this Game 5 is definitely a pivotal game. Of course, the next team, the team that wins it only needs one win, but
yeah,
I think in case of just the dynamic of the games that are left to be played here, I think it's definitely a must-win for either team.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's slide off of this, and we did mention him off the top. Sivash, go ahead and pull it up. Nick Wright has been doing his top 50 players of all time. Now, I already know who's number 1 for Nick Wright, just because he makes his bias very clear. However, there's been some very interesting selections and placements so far, and I think he's got only 12 left to do, the top 12 left to do. So pull up this list. I think it was sent into the group, so Chris, if you want to pull it up as well, just so you have it on your phone.
Pulling it up right now.
I have it on my screen right here.
Sivash, I'm gonna let you just take it. Just tackle this. Go ahead, because I know that you had said we gotta talk about this tomorrow. This is insane. So preach away, brother.
Listen, we all have our opinions. Everybody has their opinions on different things. Listen, your opinion is your opinion, but I think sometimes you can tell somebody to shut the fuck up. I think in this case, look, Nick Wright knows that he's doing this for views. He knows that he's doing this to get the people rattled up, as these analysts do. He's not an actual analyst. He's not an actual reporter. No. He's one that is there to get you rattled up, similar to Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless doesn't do any reporting. He's never goes, head. Exactly, talking head. He's never like, I heard this team's about to trade this guy, and it actually happens. He's the one that reacts to it and just says something to get you going. So, looking at this list, I just think it's insane. I would, and this is where I'm going to say it's insane. At number 20, this gentleman has Luka Doncic.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that one up, because the first one that stuck out.
I didn't even see Luka on the list.
And Luka, it was his 4th year in the league. You want to talk about potential? Potential is, sure. It's as vague as a lot of other things. So we're not going to bring that up into this, but he has him over Chris Paul, Kevin Garnett, David Robinson, John Stockton, James Harden, and the list goes on.
Kawhi Leonard. Yeah.
Kawhi is at number 32, which, again, on its own, insane. This is what I mean. Like, it's just like, even if you look at the list of names I just read, James Harden not being as high as Luka, what has Luka done that outmatches James Harden? Of course, one can say he's performing the playoffs. Fair point. But James Harden is an MVP winner. I would
couple
say
scoring
MVP,
titles.
Yeah, exactly. I would say MVP goes above performing the playoffs. We have known many players that perform in the playoffs. Like fucking Mozgov in 2016. He performed. Is he higher than someone else? No.
Yeah.
We're not going to value it like that. Or Chris Paul being below Luka. That's, to me, listen, again, everybody has their opinion. But the reason
Some are wrong.
I wanted to, some are absolutely wrong. One of the reasons I wanted to bring this up more so, not because of just that point, but more so talking about the ranking of some of these players. Like, look, this gentleman has Kawhi below Walt Frazier. This, I respect the legend, New York legend.
Below Patrick Ewing, another New York legend, but
it's just, I just think the ranking is kind of all over the place. So I say we talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and let me, I'll lob it up to Chris here first, but first of all, in general, it's very difficult to create. We've talked about top 5, we talked about top 10 on this podcast just very loosely before. I've told people drunk at different restaurants that they're irrelevant for not agreeing with me. But especially for a top 50, that's very difficult. However, the placement of some, you're right, Seabash, is very, very questionable. So, Chris, lobbing it up to you, is there anything that sticks out to you, or just any opinions that you have on this list so far?
Honestly, looking at some of this stuff, let me see here, because,
look at who he has at number 17. Oh my God.
Karl
could never.
Malone.
You hate Karl Malone. You hate Karl Malone. That's so funny.
But yeah, it's I'm actually going through this list. I am shocked. Why do you have Kawhi at 32?
2 Finals MVPs, I think 2 Defensive Player of the Year, 2 championships, obviously. Kind of impressive. I get he doesn't play a lot of games, but there's a lot of people in front of him that you're like, what?
And okay, I'm gonna say this. I'm a big Carmelo fan. No, I'm a huge Carmelo fan, but I'm like, why do you have him at 49? Why is he there?
Do you mean he should be higher, or should he not be on the list?
No, he should be higher.
Ooh, okay. This is interesting.
I'm a little torn. Again, because I do need to refresh some of my basketball on some of obviously the older players and stuff like that. So I'd be a person who I'd want to go through player by player, looking at stuff, kind of comparing with Melo.
Listen, see, I know you're about to freak out, but when I first looked at it too, I didn't say he wasn't on the list, but I thought, and I was like, is he on the list? I you know what I need to see? I need to see the next 50.
No, so I just want to hear, Chris, you haven't done your research, your first glance at this. Do you think Carmelo should be higher or lower?
The Carmelo fan, the Carmelo fan in me, obviously, I want Melo higher. I love Melo. I would love Melo higher. But
as an objective,
yeah. But if
Melo should be higher.
But then I don't know though, because then again, it's I don't know about some of these older guys and the older heads and what the fuck they did, what they accomplished type of shit. Because then I look at Carmelo. I'm let me see what this guy do. Let me pull this up right now. I'm gonna lob it back to see.
Why are you pulling it up? I'm with you.
I just want to see. I know. I just want to see. Yeah, 10-time NBA All-Star, 2-time All-Second Team, 3rd team.
This is what I'm gonna say.
Scoring champion, Rookie of the Year.
This is what I'm gonna say right here. Sidney Moncrief doesn't make it. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Who is that? That's the thing. Who is Sidney Moncrief? That's why I'm
for the Bucks.
I want to look at these people, because if this is a bum, why are you higher than Melo? But if you're actually good,
that's a Bucks legend right there. Again, defensive guy, great player. But come on, man. Melo,
I use the term bum loosely, of course, because it's you guys are all the 50, you're 50 best players ever. So it's obviously top 10, top 15, whatever. You guys goats. Certify you guys are elite and you're 50. And then at the lower end, people are going, these guys are bums compared to that. But in actuality, they're not fucking bums. They're good. They're really fucking good.
Even a guy like Anthony Davis, I question his placement on the list. I'm like, is Melo listen, let's talk about Melo versus Luka. I get it. Neither of them have won a title, but what are we saying? Again, potential is one thing, sure, but this is top 50 players of the last 50 years. Like, what are we talking about? You're telling me in 4 years you're able to put this guy at number 20? I don't know, man.
I don't know.
And I guess
Jokic
that's
in
more of a
this
conversation around Luka, but
Where's
What's
Jokic
that?
in this list? If we're doing promises, if we're doing,
I bet you Jokic is probably in the top 12.
Imagine he's a Nick
I
Wright
guarantee-
is a known Jokic hater. No way he puts him in top 12.
If he doesn't put Jokic in here, then he's crazy.
And that's
So,
only
okay,
potential, right? We're talking about potential as part of this.
Mhm.
Jokic is a 2-time MVP who's, I think, 26 years old.
Mhm.
Like, do
Yeah.
we not have, bro, look at this career. This guy is not jumping out of the court. This guy is not doing things that he's not going to be able to do 10 years from now.
and
Look
you
at
can
his
argue
skill
that this
set.
is going to, and you can argue that he's going to be one of the best centers of all time, just based on
Mhm.
how he plays his style
Potential.
of game. Yeah, exactly. Potential. What are we talking about here? So you
Potential
mentioned
is like
that-
a promise from a drunk person. You can get your hopes up, but it could just not happen.
yeah.
Mhm.
So you talked about the next 12. Obviously, there's certain guys that we know is going to be in there, but let's try to tap into Nick Wright's mind, as unfortunate as that is, and try to predict this next 12. So obviously, we know, there's going to be Kobe, there's going to be Shaq, there's going to be Mike, there's going to be Braun, right? There's going to be Kareem, there's going to be Wilt. That's 6.
Do you have Tim Duncan on there?
Tim Duncan will be in there. That's 7.
You say Bill Russell already?
Bill Russell. That's 8.
Larry?
Larry, that's 9. Magic, that's 10.
Nah.
So there's 2 more spots. Oscar Robertson, that's 11.
Probably. Isaiah Thomas? Oh, no, it's already there.
Isaiah's in there, yeah. Who's that last guy in that list? There's probably someone that I just skimmed over.
I bet you
Is
throw
Andrew Bynum in
somebody.
there?
What's that?
Is Andrew Bynum in there?
No, I thought you said Manu Ginobili. I was gonna say relax there.
He did win a gold medal for the Argentinians.
Yeah, he
That's
did
true,
for the
that's
Argentinians, so come on, man. That's a athlete.
Chris, what did you say? Imagine he what? Imagine
I was gonna say, man, he just throws like a fucking wrench in there, and he's like, "Oh, Damian Lillard, somebody like that."
Oh, no.
Bro,
the man that has the same amount of accolades since his sophomore season.
I don't know.
Steph.
Oh,
There
did
we
not
go.
say
That's
so?
who it is. That's
Yeah, I
who
was
it
gonna say
Steph's
there's,
gonna be in
there's
there.
a new, yeah. I was gonna say there's got to be like a new age
Yeah.
player.
is. Yeah.
It just
So that
noticed
then that means Jokic is not in there, which again I think is.
There's
think is,
there's no way
crazy.
Jokic, would not.
I'm and maybe it's because it's in yellow, but it is sticking out to me. Anthony Davis. I don't like. Is Dwight Howard? Should Dwight Howard not be a bit higher than Anthony Davis?
I think
Absolutely.
Dwight Howard should be higher than Anthony Davis.
Absolutely.
I think he's the top 10 center of all.
He didn't even make top 75, right? But he's making
Correct.
this.
That is correct.
So
Did Anthony
even though-
Davis make top 75?
He did.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
Yes,
oh my
he
God,
did.
Bro. What?
And that was my big thing. Remember when we recorded that episode? Because I was going in and you guys were giving me flack, and I was like, no, Dwight Howard is
No.
super, super underrated. His resume is very impressive. Sure, he fell off towards the end of the year because shit was going on. Whatever, bounced from team to team to team, but whatever. The first half of that resume, impressive as fuck.
Mhm.
Now,
I don't
this
know,
is
man.
one thing I just want to say about this list. You look at number 50, Bernard King, Knicks legend.
Yep.
I just want to show you how stupid this list is. Because Luka is at number 20 with potential. And a 2-time MVP doesn't get to be the number 50 behind the guy who hasn't won MVP, who I will say, I don't think deserves to be in the top 50 players.
Bernard.
Bernard King. I
Yeah.
think that if you got potential in there, hey, where's Jokic in that? He's already got 2 MVPs. Let's see it. If you're going off
And that-
accomplishments, where's Luka?
That's a great argument because again, he has to be talking about potential because again, and I'm glad that we're all being objective, about Carmelo, about other guys and whatnot. But Chris, you're a big Luka guy. Tell me if I'm wrong. If we're not talking about potential, Luka does not deserve to be on this list. If we're
He didn't
not
make the
talking about
top
potential,
75.
4 years, 4 years. Wow, how are you? No, come on.
I mean, yeah. Again, I don't know. It's tough too. It's super tough because again, looking at what this guy's played 4 years. 3 of those years, he's selected NBA first team 3 times. Right. So
one of those years he didn't make the playoffs in his rookie year. 2 of those
Mm-hmm.
years he was lost in the first round, and then this last year he made the conference finals.
Mm-hmm. But again, at the same time too, it's like Luka's been doing a lot of this shit by him fucking self.
That's true.
Like the numbers he's putting up, like he is carrying this Mavericks team.
That's
So
true.
that's Harden. So did Harden for majority of his time in Houston. He again, there's numbers that he was putting up. This guy had a 50-point game against every team when he was playing on Houston.
That's
But then again, look at the
wild.
basketball James Harden's playing. He was still exploiting the foul shit. Like this guy was shooting more free throws than other teams, bro.
But can you
No.
harm him for that? That's not his fault.
As far as the
Yeah,
game,
he's exploiting like a rule, but then it's like you're exploiting a rule so much to the point like they need to change it. And then now that that's been changed, everyone was like, "Well, look at Harden. He needs to adjust. He needs to. He's not the same Harden." Blah blah blah. And you see his performance since that. Like when was the last time he dropped a 40-point game or put up numbers like he's putting up in Houston? When was the last time he did that?
probably
Since the rule
last year
changed?
in Brooklyn.
Probably in Houston. No, I don't even know if he
Nah.
got 40 in Brooklyn, but
Right?
I think
So-
he did. Let's not do that.
Well, I'm just saying like that's I don't know. That's just me. That's a whole separate issue with that I have with James Harden. And I'm not saying James Harden's not a good player. James Harden's a phenomenal player. I would still take
I love
James
how we got
Harden.
into this argument of the whole free throw thing again.
But yeah,
Well, I mean-
like I don't know. But like C said, potential is such a hard thing to think because again, like we could see Luka could be great like year 5, and then I don't know what happens for the rest of his career. Who knows?
he could win
You
an
never
MVP
know.
next year, and then the year after
Yeah.
that, and the year after that. But he could also, I would never wish this upon anybody. He could also get injured. You never know. Like, so you can't be like creating your list. And I know it says of the last 50 years, but okay, you're taking a 4-year sample for a kid, and you're putting him
Yeah.
at 20. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
If it's off the last 50 years, that doesn't mean, oh, what if he's going to be a 5-time MVP in 10 years? Like, no, that you
Exactly.
said that right there.
Exactly.
It's
Mhm.
stupid. And
Yeah.
you know what? I feel like we got to do another list of 25 under 25 list.
I was
Really
just
should
about
go
to
to
say
one of
this
those.
is the last
Right?
week of actual NBA, games, NBA content.
Oh,
so
we can do it at
you
the
know,
off season.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
put
so
Luka at number
off-season-
1 just to cheese y'all.
off season we'll do we'll bring back some more draft. We'll recycle some of that content, and you know what, maybe we'll even sit down. I was watching, it was an old episode of the Through the Wire podcast, and they did their top 50, and what they did was they each created a top 50. They got together, and then based on who was where, they averaged it out. So for example, if Chris, you had Carmelo at 30, Siavash, you didn't have Carmelo on the list at all, and I had him at 40, well, he would probably land at 40. You know what I mean? Like, you average out whatever it is. So that could be something interesting to do, and we'll put Nick Wright in his place for, putting out some blasphemous fucking takes.
It's another thing I was just going to say. It's insane that Paul Pierce is a top 12 player in this. I just can't understand how we
Hey
get
man,
to
if he
this
didn't
point.
get a leg cramp, they would have won. Nah.
What a guy.
His IG live performance in general should make him a top
Oh, yeah.
player.
Top 2.
Oh,
And it's not 2.
Easily.
Speaking of Paul Pierce, speaking of blasphemous takes, there is, and I'm hoping that Chris, maybe you found it, or at least you can remember some of them off the top of your head. There was some trade rumors or potential trades that could happen this offseason with some big name guys making moves. And while you look it up, I will just announce, obviously by the time, again, this comes out on Wednesday, it'll already be news, but we can talk about it while Chris finds an article or the article. But Oklahoma City traded their 30th overall pick, and I believe a second or 2 seconds, to the Denver Nuggets for JaMychal Green and a 2027 Denver Nuggets first-round pick. Now, the first-round pick was added to kind of get rid of that salary cap for Denver, but there are rumors, as I was saying, that OKC might be trying to gather some assets to make a push for DeAndre Ayton. It's also funny that they now need to trade some of their draft picks, as we were talking about before, because too many draft picks, too many young rookies, means not enough playing time for those young rookies. So, Steve Ash, just off the top, do you think, first of all, do you think the Thunder going for DeAndre Ayton, do you think that's a smart move, or does that fit their timeline? They got Shea, they got Giddey, they got Dort. They're gonna have this top 2 pick.
It really depends on, again, with the draft. Our projections are Chet Holmes is probably going to go number 1.
He should,
right?
Yeah.
That's, again, with Magic's and the Orlando Magic's needs in this situation, I would project that. Now, if you go past number 1, you got 2 power forwards as your other options there. So once you go ahead with that, again, Paolo, in my opinion, will be the best option for OKC. And they can go for DeAndre Ayton. But all of this depends on their timeline with SGA. Shea Gilchrist Alexander, you want him to keep him for as long as possible, or you're going to have to move on from him if he doesn't match your timeline. Of course, you can keep him and see where you can land with him, but if you're going to keep tanking, you can't keep this guy who is trying to be a competitive player at the age of, I believe, 24, already into his rookie max contract. So all of this, in my opinion, depends on that. If they do now, if by any time Chet drops to number 2, maybe they don't go for that. Maybe they don't go for the whole DeAndre Ayton stuff, but there is a fair chance with the roster that they have, with the amount of picks that they have, they're going to start trying to compete now.
And that's not far-fetched. Jabari Smith Jr. is the favorite to go first overall. I just personally think that Chet will go first overall based on the relationship he has with Jalen Suggs, who was drafted there last year. They played together in high school. They actually both went to Gonzaga. They didn't play together in Gonzaga, but and I just think that it's a good match for Orlando. Yes, they do have centers there, but that is just more trade assets to move. I also think Paolo is a great option for OKC. I think he's a guy that will and can be a future superstar on an NBA team. Kind of like a Blake Griffin, but a better shooter and less athletic. But let's go on to the trades. Chris, I know that you had mentioned there was some about either Donovan Mitchell or Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, a lot of big name guys. But hit us with the first one. What do you got? And let's just kind of break them down.
Couldn't find the exact article.
Okay.
This one I found kind of mentioned like a couple of them. One of them that I was like a little surprised involved like the Utah Jazz and the Brooklyn Nets, and that was trading Rudy Gobert for Ben Simmons, just a straight swap. Man, I don't know, bro. I don't know how I see that happening. I feel like Brooklyn's already given up like so much for Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I personally don't think Ben Simmons is going to play for the Brooklyn Nets, but I did hear another team that Ben Simmons might go to, and it's one of our 3 teams. But Siavash, I'll let you speak first.
I was just going to say, I like to play the game of who says no in that situation. And I have a hard time, I believe both of them would say no. It's like a weird trade where if you're the Jazz doing it, you're moving on from a guy who is a 3-time defensive player into a guy who is an almost defensive player, but at the same time, you're going younger, you're giving him less salary. Nets, I don't see the benefit in it. It's a weird trade, man. It's definitely one that I can see both of them just saying no, but at the same time, I can see it going through with some of the different pieces in there.
Now, I mentioned another team, one of our teams being mentioned in... The team was mentioned prior when all the Ben speculation was going around, but recently there's been a lot of smoke about Mr. OG Anunoby not being the happiest in the system, not getting enough playing time. Again, there's a lot of the same position, the same style of players on that team. So there's been talk about maybe an OG for Ben swap. I don't know. There's probably other little pieces in there as well. But Chris, would you entertain a Ben Simmons for OG swap? Why or why not?
Probably less scarves. He's not gonna wear as many scarves.
I know. The scarf culture in Toronto would be hurting for fucking sure.
Definitely. Most definitely.
We already lost Serge, and then to lose OG.
That's a double loss right there.
Double loss right there. Honestly, man, like I don't know how Ben would fit into like the Raptors system. I mean, yes, Ben's defensive abilities would be a great asset to the Raptors, where sometimes like we are lagging when it comes to guarding certain positions, either just because we don't have that body size or whatever. But to give up like a key player like OG for that, I just don't think Ben would be happy in Toronto either. So
he's not happy anywhere. So
yeah, I just think we'd give up OG to have Ben for a season for Ben to be like, I don't want to be here.
I think he wants to be in. I think he wants to be in California. Really, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
like piggybacking on that though, I did see like another potential trade where they're talking about OG and a 2024 first round pick to San Antonio for DeJounte Murray.
For DeJounte Murray.
What?
Yeah, that's another one that I saw.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
and here's why. You look at the roster for the Raptors.
Okay.
What am I going to say?
Ahead. Never mind. I thought you were going to talk about your boy Zach LaVine, but go ahead.
I'm always going to talk about my boy. No, I was just going to say the roster that Raptors have, to go from a small forward who is proven to be a great defensive player who can shoot the ball to a defensive guard who has played the one but at the same time can be played at the two. It is fascinating because you got the spots to be able to do that. You got the guys to be able to play at the 3 and the 4. At the same time, if I'm San Antonio, I'm saying no to that. And the main reason behind that is you got a guard who is been there for some time, who is going to be the leader on that team. And they got
who's got gang ties. So
right. Yeah. I don't know anything about that. I did not say that. So
who was gang ties?
DeJounte.
Oh, I thought you said OG.
No.
I was like, what's this?
They don't have gangs out in the UK.
The Scarf Gang?
They got gangs out in the UK. Definitely got gangs out there. 100%.
Let's not disrespect anybody's set. All of us gonna say is they got a leader in DeJounte Murray. They got up and coming guys like Keldon Johnson. I think Jakob Poeltl. I think he's decent. Yeah. So I think with all that, you're not gonna go to a guy like OG and then lose that guy and try to find another guard for yourself.
Yeah, you guys know I'm a big DeJounte Murray fan. He's actually probably one of my favorite young players in the league. And the reason why I mentioned that I thought you were going to talk about Zach LaVine is there's been rumors that if Zach LaVine does go somewhere, there's been talks with the Lakers, there's been talks recently about Portland, and there's been talks about the San Antonio Spurs because him and DeJounte are good friends. And I thought the only way that, again, even if they didn't get him, he's taking his headset off. Even if they didn't get him, I would, even if they didn't get him, I wouldn't think that they would trade DeJounte. Just because he, like Sivash said, he is such an important piece to that young core. But okay, so let's talk about it. Let's get it out in the open. I don't know if you've got a trade on that website there, Chris, but
there actually is.
Sivash, what's going on with Zach LaVine? Is he gonna stay? Is he gonna move? Like what's going on? Just tell me he's not gonna be in purple and gold. That's all I care about.
Chris, what is the trade that you see on that website?
Oh, ours, it doesn't even, they don't even talk about thing. It just involves Vucevic going to Dallas for Dwight Powell, Reggie Bullock, and a future first round.
Oh, your guy, Dwight Powell.
Oh, fuck that website.
Yeah, expose them. What's the website?
Hey, it's Bleacher Report, dog.
Fuck Bleacher Report, man. Why would we do that?
Don't fuck Bleacher Report.
Whoever wrote that, bro, why would we do that? Like, why would we give up our center for a guy who's worse at defending the paint, who's not doing half the things that our center does, for that guy plus a shooter who was on a minimum contract? Of course, I don't think he's on. They have to sign and trade him. Mm-hmm. And then a future first for a team with Luka on it. That is the most worthless trade I've heard all fucking week.
Hey, man.
No way.
He's one of the greatest catchers of passes in the NBA. He never drops a pass, so that could be beneficial.
My guy Zach LaVine, though, I don't know, brother. Listen, I feel like if we lose Zach LaVine, the front office has fumbled the bag here. They tried to lowball him. They tried not to get him the maximum contract. When he played his ass off, of course he's asking for it. And they finally came around, but that time they're playing hardball now. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I think his heart is in Chicago, but he's still gonna listen to some offers. He's gonna see what he can
as
find.
he should. Yeah,
He should. And listen, if we don't get him back, I'm ready to sell my stock on my team again. Anybody who wants to buy, please reach out to me. The Chicago Bulls, I want to burn it down. Fuck this team, fuck that front office. I do not care.
look at the polar opposites, right? Like, what was it? 6 months ago, he's like, "Bro, we're first seed. We're winning the fucking title. Bang, 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 bang." I was like, "Yo, fuck this. Let's burn Chicago to the ground." Like, listen, I've believed that you're a closet Miami Heat fan. I think you should just make the switch. You should just make the switch.
Yeah, I should just make the switch, brother.
I'm a Jimmy fan, but
that's true.
Listen, I'm not really gonna root for another team out here but my Chicago Bulls. Outside of that, if the Bulls lose out on Zach LaVine and move on to the future with Kobe White,
that's your guy.
Reggie Bullock, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, and Vucevic, listen, man, I might not watch the NBA anymore. I might have to leave the podcast.
No. But you talk about Patrick Williams. That's interesting. Let's stay with the Chicago Bulls. There's another guy. I mean, I know you don't like Vooch, or you're not the biggest fan of Vooch. You also don't really like the French community. But I know you've been sort of a fan of Rudy Gobert. I'm seeing a trade, and it involves your guy, and I know you're going to flag this down immediately, but it's Pat Will, Vooch, and Javonte Green for Rudy Gobert. Now I know it'd be tough to give up Javonte Green in that trade, but what do you?
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't hear about that one. I heard about the one with Vooch and Patrick Williams, but I didn't hear about.
We're not giving up Green. We're not giving up Green.
That's I was gonna entertain it until you said that.
Yeah.
Now listen, I do want Gobert. At the same time, I think Vooch brings a lot to the court. His shooting allows for a lot of spacing there. If we lose out on him, I do not want to lose out on Patrick Williams. And what's going to happen when Gobert leaves the floor? It's entertaining. Yeah, at the same time, I would rather be able to bring some bigs and keep Vooch so we have more options when it comes to our offense and defense.
Mm-hmm. Chris, you got another one over there?
There was another one. Okay, who do you think says no in this situation between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Charlotte Hornets? So the trade would include Zion, Devontae Graham, Jackson Hayes to Charlotte for Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, PJ Washington, and 2020 first-round pick and two future first-round picks. Think they say no?
New Orleans says
no. 100%? Okay.
Yeah, I would say the same here because you're giving up, again, potential, but you're giving up a guy who was the number one pick. You've invested in him for years. You've got him chefs to make him gumbo and all these different New Orleans foods.
To make him, the food was too good.
To be honest, I zoned out once you started talking about. I was like, okay,
thanks, man.
Is LaMelo? No, I was like, when he was talking, I was like, is LaMelo coming back? Once you said Miles Bridges, I was like, okay, this is. There's no way.
There's no way. Okay.
And I think Miles Bridges' trade value has gone down since he started having some syrup in his cup and just talking about
posting lean on his Instagram story. Wild, bro. Wild. I mean, there's one thing to, be a retired NBA player and have girls in the background, doing dances and stuff. It's another thing to be John Morant, drinking on live and stuff. But it's a completely other thing to be posting something illegal on your story and thinking it's like a normal casual thing. Like, bro, what? And he could
lemonade.
Of course he did. Yeah. Then why are you implying? Like, why are you making the implication that it's lean? Like, come on, the double cup. Like, come on, bro. We know what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Exactly. Ugh.
And it's funny because Drake has a lyric that rappers want to be NBA players and NBA players want to be rappers, and it's like Miles Bridges is both, but it's like, brother, you don't need to do all the other stuff on the side. Like, I know he's not a rapper.
What are we calling a rapper?
He's a baller that raps, but I don't know. I just think maybe someone take his phone away for the off season. But he might be going to Michigan, so you never know. He might be going to Detroit. so we can throw it down in Detroit.
All right.
There's some wild trades here too. Just
I
like
think,
I think the
other
last one. You want to find us a final offer?
Final offer.
The most intriguing one in there for you.
I'm
Maybe
looking.
the most blockbuster. Tell us that you have a trade for Damian Lillard to the Washington Wizards for nothing.
For nothing. The only one I wish I remember like who else it involved, because I know it involved like 2 other players. One of them not being Jamal Murray, but there was a potential trade I saw with Lillard going to the Denver Nuggets to play alongside Jokic, and they would be giving up like MPJ, and I think another like couple guards too. But what was striking to me is that Murray wasn't involved in that trade, so it left me confused, being like, well, what is Murray's role now if he's going to be playing alongside Damian Lillard?
Not even that. I just don't see a way that Portland gives up Lillard without getting Jamal Murray back. Like, I would be pushing for Jamal Murray before I'm pushing for MPJ.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. That's why I was so confused about this trade, and why I wish I'm going to start just screenshotting stuff. As soon as I see something interesting, I think I'll screenshot into a folder be brought up later.
There's also an app that I use called Pocket, and you can just save articles.
Okay, because usually that's what I do. I just normally leave either the tab open, or if it's on Instagram or on somewhere else, just like it, so I can go back and I can just review my likes. But
I think at the start of the year, I did bring up a similar trade. It was, I think, for MPJ and Murray for Dame Lillard, and this was before all these moves that the Trailblazers made to be able to rebuild around Lillard in a quick minute. As we can look at it now, of course, back then I thought that was a fascinating trade. Pairing Lillard with Jokic would be incredible. Yada, yada, yada. I think as we look at it now, I don't know what the fuck Lillard is doing, bro. Listen, we've talked about, hey, man, don't be loyal to your fault. Like, listen, you got to get out of there. Don't be doing too much. I try to think of like an analogy of somebody who's stuck around too long. I forgot what I was going to bring up, but
that's like Will Smith with Jada Smith. He's stuck around too long now. He's getting abused.
Or it's like fucking every person wants to be. Everybody wants to be Kobe. Everybody wants to stay now with like the same franchise. I'm like, look what I've done for this franchise. But not everybody's gonna be Kobe. Not everybody's gonna have those impacts with their organization. And all you did was ended up not wasting like your time as an NBA player, but wasting your potential to win championships, to win other accolades with other teams because you wanted to stay too loyal. Like, Dame. It's like you're either going to be a Kobe or you're going to be a Dame now. And that's the thing.
Championships still matter. We can't just discount it.
They do, but maybe, I don't know, maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's just like, he appreciates and respects loyalty over winning a championship. Yeah. And maybe he's like, similar to Giannis. Of course, it's worked out for Giannis, but he's like, I'm going to win or I'm going to lose with Milwaukee, right? I think we talked about him briefly. Rudy Gobert is that type of guy as well. Utah took a chance on him, drafting him when not a lot of other teams saw potential in him. I think that's why I've talked about Donovan Mitchell being the smarter decision to trade, because Donovan will leave you. I don't think Rudy will leave you. Again, yes, Damian Lillard definitely has the skill set, has the ability to lead a team, to be a championship contender, to at least even go to the NBA Finals. But some guys they value loyalty, honor, and respect, like John Cena over anything else. But
John Cena,
I don't know. Just like John Cena, you can't see me, you can't see Dame in the finals as long as he stays with Portland.
Oh my God! All right, I think that's enough for today.
But that is all. We'll definitely, this is like I mentioned before, this is the last episode before the end of the NBA playoffs. If it goes to a Game 7, it will be on Saturday the 18th. So we'll see. We might have a new champion in the middle of the week. We might have a new champion by the time we record next week. But when it comes, no, it's Game 5. But we'll definitely be talking about more trades. We'll break down more trades. We'll try to find a better article than that brutal writer that works for Bleacher Report that was just tossing out lava bombs. But We'll catch you in the next one. Keep it easy. Peace.